My name is Martin and welcome to another great edition of MP Astro. Now today in this video I want to touch base on visual astronomy. Now over the years I have been a very strong visual astronomer, and I've used quite a lot of eyepieces that I bought to connect it to a telescope and start looking up in the night sky. Now don't get me wrong, eyepieces is sort of, over the years, is starting to move over to the cameras, into astrophotography, and astronomy seems to be evolving a lot around astrophotography. Now, eyepieces are a great way to enjoy the night sky, looking up, looking at some fantastic objects, of deep sky objects like galaxies and nebula, planets, the moon, you name it. And it's a cheap form of looking up. End of the day, the telescopes were designed with eyepieces, and most people who bought a telescope will use an eyepiece. Now there's times that over the years I've used loads of eyepieces, and they can vary in prices. Sometimes they can be cheap but really rubbish views. Obviously, more expensive eyepieces are made of high quality glass and reveal some stunning views, absolutely fantastic optics, but the prices are so expensive, it really is beyond a joke. Now, most of us are on a limited budget. Astronomy is not a cheap hobby, and I totally get the frustration from people first starting out into astronomy. Now, over the years I've bought a lot of expensive eyepieces. You cannot go wrong with a decent Plössl or a Kellner eyepieces. Over the years I've used them, they're absolutely fantastic eyepieces for what they are. And if we take a closer look on a typical Plössl, alright, there's a Plössl eyepiece. They cost £20 to £40. Alright, they can vary from 40mm all the way down to 5, maybe 3mm. You get a huge 52-degree field of view, 1.25 inch, or you can get 2-inch format eyepieces. Alright, these are really good eyepieces. A good Kellner or Plössl eyepiece, really good budget eyepiece for the money. Fantastic. However, again, it costs money. Again, you can go more specialised. I have a really good panel view, 32mm. 70-degree field of view, 2-inch eyepiece. This is from Skywatcher. They no longer make these anymore, but they are a fantastic eyepiece for the money. I expect to pay probably £40 to about £80 for one of these, but again, they no longer make these. And then you go even more expensive, as I have a Explorer Scientific 14mm 100-degree field of view eyepiece. This is a £400 eyepiece, very expensive. I've had this over 8 years now. Really is an amazing eyepiece, but the money is too expensive. It really is staggering expensive. You can buy a complete telescope with this kind of eyepiece. This eyepiece really goes bang with this telescope, it really is. You can see some amazing views with this eyepiece. Don't get me wrong, you're paying for quality optics, premium quality optics, top notch quality. But the thing is, most of us in the real world, budget is a real concern, serious factor for many. And I totally agree. Yes, I did have the money and I did buy this eyepiece, but to be honest with you, yes, it's outstanding quality, but I hardly use it. I end up starting to use the Plössls or the Skywatcher eyepiece more often because they seem to be much lighter, they're much easier to handle, the views are just as good. Alright, they have a smaller field of view, but that's it. With this eyepiece, you can hardly, yes, the image contrast, it does appear a little bit sharper. But those eyepieces are just as sharp, just as clear, contrasty, really good eyepieces. This is just slightly better, but I just can't justify £400, £600, £800, £1,000. I've even seen an eyepiece for £1,000 for an eyepiece. Yes, you're paying for premium optics, but the views are not going to get as good because it determines on what telescope you're going to use it with. It depends on your sky conditions. It depends on several factors. An eyepiece will only show you so much. This is just glorified. This is just a glorified eyepiece. Yes, it really is an amazing eyepiece, but would I recommend anyone buying an eyepiece like that? No, I wouldn't. I would buy a decent Plossl eyepiece or a Kellner eyepiece. They are fantastic eyepieces for the money. So they are going to be better than your modified achromat eyepieces or any of the cheaper eyepieces that get supplied with the telescopes, because often those eyepieces are so poorly made. Personally, a good Kellner or a Plossl eyepiece like that will deliver the goods. You'll get some amazing views, very pleasing views with a Plossl. However, in this video, I've got a guy who is a subscriber to my channel. He follows my channel and he likes watching my videos. His name is Steve Case. Now, he has kindly donated an eyepiece that he has made out of binocular lenses. This is a budget eyepiece. It costs a few pounds to make. You can make this eyepiece yourself. Now, this eyepiece is actually made and devised. The whole idea comes from a guy called Red Henry. Now, he has a YouTube channel as well. Please check him out below. Seriously, if you're on a limited budget and you can't afford certain eyepieces because they're too expensive, please check his channel out. He shows you how to make these eyepieces out of binocular lenses. Now, he's been doing this since the 70s and he doesn't make any money out of this. He actually makes these eyepieces as a hobby. He is truly dedicated to the hobby in astronomy, and you need to check these videos out. He shows you how to make these eyepieces out of binocular lenses. This is something that you could save money for yourself, and you can buy a really good eyepiece for not much money. And Steve Case, who made this eyepiece for me, thank you, Steve, for donating this eyepiece. I did actually pay for the postage for him to send this eyepiece to me, so please check out the transaction. With that bank transaction, I did actually ask Steve that I want to buy this eyepiece, because I'm a big believer, if I'm reviewing an eyepiece or a product, I would like to have bought it. He kindly requested, he said he refused. He did not want any money. All he was bothered about was he wanted someone to show evidence, to show the true performance of this eyepiece and give her honest opinions based around this budget eyepiece. What I'm going to show to you guys and girls, I'm going to show you how good it really is by showing you some real evidence. Alright, so I'm really looking forward to how this eyepiece performs, and also what I'm going to show is, can this eyepiece, this budget eyepiece, compete against a really expensive eyepiece like this. This is a 100-degree field of view. Yes, it's a 14mm eyepiece. Yes, the views are going to be absolutely amazing, but can this budget eyepiece compete against something that's so expensive as this? Please check out Red Henry's channel as well. Please give his channel a like. Alright, please watch it. Please support his channel as well, because I think he deserves that recognition. Right? He's worked throughout the years. He does not make money out of it. He donates this. He donates these eyepieces for free to complete beginners into astronomy, sharing his ideas out and his knowledge, encouraging people into astronomy. And that's something that is lacking in this field of hobby. There's too many astro channels out there are just publicly pushing out product reviews that are beyond people's budgets. In the real world, astronomy is not all about product reviews. It's all about looking up into space, enjoying the night sky. That's what it's all about. And that's something that we have lost track on. We are meant to be looking through eyepieces. Eyepieces are not going to go away. We're always going to be using an eyepiece at some point. And that's where it starts. It starts when people are encouraged into this hobby by looking up through an eyepiece. That's where it starts. That is true astronomy. And again, big thank you for Steve Case for donating this eyepiece to me. I really appreciate what you've done for me. I will test it out and I will give out a good, honest opinion that you deserve. And again, this is a budget eyepiece. This is not a product review as such, but because really this is a homemade product that you can make yourself for nothing or a couple of pounds, if that, and you can make a truly amazing eyepiece. If this eyepiece is that good, Ed Henry did actually describe in his video that there was a guy who wanted to swap his Teleview Ethos eyepiece for this eyepiece. Apparently this eyepiece is that good, it took a guy to literally say, can I swap you one for this? That's a big plus. If this eyepiece is really that amazing, we'll get to test it, how it really performs. If you're interested, keep watching and let's do this. So I'm going to take a closer look on Steve Case's eyepiece that is made for me. Now again, this is a budget eyepiece and it's a 2-inch format. Okay, from the look of it, it is very well made. Now he's provided a letter, and in this letter, it's a bit, he's put in, this can be built, if I dim down exposure so you can see. Right, so he's done a letter here. This can be built following Red Henry's video on YouTube. So he's built it based upon Red Henry's channel. So Red Henry is the founder of this eyepiece, right? So this is built with binocular lenses. As you can see, it does actually look like he's used a 50mm lens there from a binocular. So also this message he's put there, it's based on Red Henry's channel. So I will provide a link in the description to his channel and those videos. I've actually watched those videos, very, very well made, very well constructed, and he does go step by step how to build these yourself. So if you're limited budget, and you want to save money, or you want a truly awesome eyepiece, please check his channel out. So it is a double plossel eyepiece, and from Steve, this is his personal message, a game changer for visual observer. So apparently this eyepiece is a true game changer to any visual observer. This is from Steve, right? This is not my handwriting whatsoever. At the back, he's put down, Martin, this is a 2-inch fit 52mm focal length eyepiece. So it's 52mm focal length eyepiece. I've never seen an eyepiece as long as that. And it also says it has a flat field across, so the images will be flat field. And he also says that it has no chromatic aberration, and it's got extremely long eye relief. So apparently you don't have to take your glasses off to view it. So this eyepiece is well suited because of the long eye relief, really good for spectacle wearers or people wear glasses. I don't wear glasses personally, but I will test it out how it really performs. I must admit, the optical glass you use, it's not really good, well fully motor coated, but the thing is, these are old binoculars. So I'm not really concerned about coatings and stuff like that. What I'm concerned about is the views that it's going to produce. So looking at the build design, he has really, Steve Case has really built this. He's really designed this quite well, actually. Really quite well. And to be honest with you, it does feel like a professional eyepiece. Yeah, it's that well made. He's even provided dust covers as well with the eyepiece. I really think, I'm really looking forward to how this performs. I'm actually really excited. But binocular lenses is quite unusual. I was like a bit surprised. I'm going to check this eyepiece out. I do like how Steve has darkened the insides there, alright, with the paint. That helps to boost contrast. It really does look like a professional eyepiece. The other thing is there's no threaded parts for you to put a filter. It's just the way it is. It is homemade. So you can't fit a filter on the actual nose piece. There's no thread. However, alternatively, if it doesn't have that, you can always put filters over the top of the eyepiece itself. So you put a filter there, you can look through it that way and it'll compensate that way. Really does look robust, very well made. I have noticed that I think the adhesive has gone a bit too much overboard to cement those eyepieces together. So I think I can see a bit of trace of adhesive that's exposed over at the bottom of the nose piece. You can't see it very well, but it might show up in the images when I test it out. Steve, please don't rush in. Just take your time, and just something that I've highlighted there. However, Steve, it looks really impressive. It really does look well built. It looks like a professional eyepiece, despite it being a budget. Really well made, well done. What I will do is I'll measure it up. All right, I'll measure the weight of it. It is quite robust, but we will check out how much it weighs. So I'll put it on there on the scales, and what it reads there is 465 grams. So it's less than 500 grams. So there is a lot of weight, but to be honest with you, there are four pieces of glass used in this optical device. So it's based around a Plossl eyepiece, but 52mm focal length is pretty impressive, to say the least. I've not seen an eyepiece of 52mm. So what this eyepiece will probably be well suited for deep sky wide field viewing. So I really can't wait to test it out. There is no mention of the actual degree field, which you usually get 52, 70 degree or 100 degree field of view. There is no mention of that. But because this is a Plossl, I'm thinking that this would probably be between 50 to 60 degree field of view. So that's the eyepiece in question.
So then, guys and girls and everyone, after I've tested that eyepiece, I'm very curious to sort of estimate what field of view this eyepiece can actually do. Now, here is a nice handy tool that I use. This is from Astronomy Tools. Again, the link is there. I will provide the link at the description below. And I use this calculator to estimate the field of view that I'm going to get if I'm viewing for imaging or using just using the eyepiece. Very good tool to use, and this will give you a rough estimation of your actual field of view. Now, you'll hear times where you have eyepieces that are 50 degrees, 60 degrees, 70 degrees, 100 degrees field of view. But the thing is, you're not going to get a guaranteed field of view because every telescope is different. Microstaves are well known for the narrow field of view, and obviously through refractors you get a much wider field of view. So it really does depend on your actual field of view of your eyepiece. Alright, so don't take into account that 50 to 60 to 100 degree field of view is what you're going to get. It all depends on what eyepiece you're using to fit on a certain telescope. and this is where this calculator really does benefit you. So what we're going to do is, because we know we're going to use a telescope, right, roughly making a guesstimate on the telescope. So I'm going to use, for one example, is one of the telescopes I'm going to use. Right, this is just clearly an example. As we scroll down, we need to find okay, there, I mean, you've got flex tube, but I've got a skyliner. So I'm going to use the skyliner as my sort of telescope I'm going to use. I'm just going to scroll down, just make sure they're right. So yeah, I have the skyliner, which is the Dobsonian. I'm going to use the Dobsonian as my prime example. Okay, so it gives me 1200mm focal length, and that's the aperture of my telescope. Now, because I know the focal length of the eyepiece is 52mm, according to Steve, he provided me the note. Now, looking after testing on a landscape object, I reckon that the eyepiece is around about 50 degrees. Now, because it's a Plossl design, it's more likely to be between 50 degrees to 60 degrees field of view. Plossls is usually between that range. So for the time being, this is only estimate. I don't know the exact true field of view. You'll find this on most eyepieces. It'll tell you what field you get. So we've got, I will put down 50 degrees. And then we're going to use a messier object. A really good one is like you could use is the Pleiades. Let's just find it out there. A second. So yeah, Pleiades is a very good object, right? So it already calculates your magnification, which is around about 23 times, and your field of view around about 2 degrees, which is very impressive. So we're just going to add to view, and you should get through a 10-inch scope with that eyepiece the entire Pleiades. So with that Dobsonian that I got, the 10-inch Dobsonian, we should be able to fit the entire Pleiades through this scope, which is very, very impressive. Now the good thing about this, you see this is the boundary. So red is this detail there. So just over 2 degrees to get that is very, very good. So another one we're going to test is, I'm going to test that with a Microstage. Now Microstage are renowned to have obviously narrow field of views. So we're going to use a SkyMax 127, which is a Mac. Alright, and we should get around about 28 to about 29 times there. Again, with this eyepiece, this budget eyepiece, we're going to get just over also 1.7 degrees, which still is very impressive to get the whole Pleiades in there. So if we add to view, we still got, with that Microstage, the entire cluster in there. Okay, some stars are missed out, but you should get the whole cluster in there. And again, this is very impressive stuff. According to this eyepiece, if this performs, we're going to test it out on the 80, so the ST80. Now you should get a much wider field of view. And looking at that, we should be getting 7 times, almost 8 times magnification. Field of view, 6.5 degrees. That's really impressive if that's the case. Again, look at the field of view we got there. Okay, the actual this is your field of view there, but the actual target is really small. But 6.5 degrees is very impressive from this budget eyepiece. So now you can see how this works. So with that, we've tested 3 types of telescopes, and we're going to compare it with my Explorer Scientific. So luckily with these eyepieces, Explorer Scientific should be in there, and the one I've got is a 14mm 100 degree field of view. Yes, you're going to get more magnification with this, but it's very interesting to see how this performs. So I'm going to try and find that 100 degree field of view. It might not actually be in the list, but this is the problem with this app, is I think the list needs to be updated quite regular because some of the stuff has changed a lot. So there's that really good eyepiece I've got. It is a damn good eyepiece, but it's very expensive. So this £400 eyepiece, how's it going to look when I add it? This is, don't forget, this is on the ST80, so we're going to check it again, and you see we get 28 times. We got 3.5 degrees through the eyepiece. So yes, it is a 40mm eyepiece. But the thing is, this is what I'm trying to say to you guys and girls and everyone. This 100-degree field of view, I think it's absolute total rubbish. I think it's just a gimmick just to sell the telescopes. Yes, there is a wide field of view, and you're using 14mm, which will give you more magnification. But this field of view has dramatically decreased a lot. So this 100 degrees field of view, I just don't get it. I think this is just a selling gimmick, just to sell the telescope. This is your true field of view. So this is what I'm trying to say to you guys and girls and everyone, that you can have the best eyepiece in the world. You're not going to get 100 field degree all the way around, okay? Your actual field of view is this number here. So depending on what eyepiece you're using on a certain telescope, use this calculator and you'll get a true field of view. That's exactly what you get. Okay, and even with the ST80, you can see it's literally half the size of the budget eyepiece. Again, we're going to estimate it again, so we're going to try and use that eyepiece, and we're going to use it on the Mach 27. In fact, no, we'll use the Skyliner. So the Skyliner I've got is a 250. Okay. Yes, I will get 85 times more magnification, but look at the field of view there. We've got 1.17 degrees, so you've got 1 degree with this eyepiece. Yes, you're going to get more magnification, but as we click onto view, you'll see we only just fit Pleiades. We are still got the major stars, but a lot of the fainter stars are cut out. So as you can see there, with a more expensive eyepiece, we've got a lot less field of view. This 100-degree field of view does not make sense. I don't know how people can estimate that. If you know, please add to the comments below. I'm very interested where this 100 field view comes from, because the actual field of view you actually get with just the DOB, it shows there. Yes, you got more magnification. Yes, the expensive eyepiece will give you a much better image, a much sharper contrast image. But the thing is, it's not much there. And we're going to try again with the SkyMax 127. So the SkyMax 127, we're now becoming less than a degree. So we've got 0.93 degrees. A lot more magnification, absolutely amazing. But when we click to view it, we will see that with that 100 field of view, this 100-degree field of view, is we're now starting to close in a lot more here, and you just can't make out. You'll probably get some of the major stars, and that's it. It doesn't look really good at all. When you close in, you miss all the stars. And again, if I zoom in, right, you see how much. This is very interesting stuff. As you can see there, I don't understand this 170-degree field of view. You're not going to get that. The real true field of view will determine on what telescope you will use. So this budget style eyepiece has really got me interested, and this is the reason why I want to further investigate more on how this performs. Alright, and as you can see there, you can see it 6.5 degrees with the ST80. The 127 Mach, alright, here I'm still getting, you know, with that, like I said, with this 127 Mach I got here, if I just delete the things here, so let me just get the 14mm so you can see. So as you can see there, 6.5 with the ST80. With the 10-inch Dobsonian, the reflector, I'm still getting, even with that, like 2 degrees field of view there. And then with the Mach 127, which has got the narrowest field of view, I'm still being able to fit the entire Pleiades in that field of view with this budget eyepiece. So I'm going to test this out even more and see what we get. But I'm very curious how this performs. So take hint of this field of view calculator. This will determine your actual field of view.
Well, guys and girls and everyone, this is it. We have finally got a clear sky. Finally, waiting all this time, and as you can see, we've got Jupiter up there, so it's a really good clear sky. But it's only going to last for about a couple of hours before the cloud moves in. So what we have here is I've got my trusty 10-inch Dobsonian Skywatcher, fantastic telescope. Again, if you've not seen the videos of how I super tune this Newtonian, please check it out at the link at the top. Highly recommended, right? Really good video. I do go in a lot in depth. And we've got the trusty ST80. Again, we're going to push it to its paces. This is a refractor, focal length of 400 millimeters. The ST80 has been upgraded, super tuned as well. Again, check that video out if you've not seen the super tune of the ST80. That's obviously polar aligned, rough polar alignment on that simple mount. All right, the AZ Advanced mount, really good mount, really just suit that telescope to a T. And anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look. Now, we've got Steve's eyepiece. It's a 52mm eyepiece, okay, and this will give the magnification, because this is 1200, I believe, yes, 1200mm focal length. This will give me around about 23 times, so it won't give me a lot of magnification. So if I want to look at Jupiter, for example, on that low power, I won't see much detail other than a disk and 4 moons. It's not really an eyepiece suited for planetary viewing, but because we're using very low power, this will be an excellent eyepiece for observing deep sky objects. Okay, so at the moment the moon is still low in the sky, so we can get away with a bit of deep sky. With this one, if I'm using this eyepiece, right, that will give me 23 times on that telescope. On this one, this telescope, I will get around about 7 magnification, which is not a great deal. But because I'm using the modified focuser here, all right, from the telescope series, I'll be able to achieve focus with that telescope. Test out a refractor and a Dobsonian. So basically, a Dobsonian is basically a Newtonian telescope. So we're going to take a closer look at the eyepiece. So bear with me. I'm just going to aim for a really good object. Okay, so the object I've just pointed to, you can't see it through the camera, is we're going to look at M45 Pleiades Nebula. Well, Pleiades open cluster, not nebula. Sorry, my mistake. So we're going to look at M45, and hopefully, I'm hoping that the camera captures it. Hopefully we get... Right, we have got... Yes, we have got Pleiades there, but it's so not showing up on the camera very well. Yeah, we have got Pleiades. Right, so I'm using my Sony camera again. It is on a very slow frame rate and a very high ISO. Now, as we're going to zoom in, we have got Pleiades in there. Just bear with me. Just bear with me. Wow, look at that. I've literally put the eyepiece, literally put the camera lens over the eyepiece, and I have literally got... Wow, that's amazing. That is Absolutely amazing. Now the camera's not doing any justice because you have got a much wider field of view there, but yeah, you can see all the main stars and some of the more some of the other bigger stars. Yeah, that's massive. So yeah, this camera does perform better than the mobile phone, and as you can see, I'll just move, there's loads of stars in Pleiades. It's absolutely hundreds. It's really good. Wow, let me just refocus because I think I moved it about a little bit more than that. Go back again. Wow, look at that. Yeah, that is a massive, I don't know how big Pleiades is, the cluster, but I'm guessing it's like, I think is it 4 moon diameters? But you can clearly see through this eyepiece that the Sony camera has picked it up, and I've got all the major stars and all the faint stars in there. Really is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Also, I'm using a very slow frame rate. Obviously, I'm higher in the ISO as well, so the image quality is not so great. But yeah, that is absolutely amazing. So we've just seen what we've just achieved there. Shame my adapter, my smartphone adapter, does not fit my mobile phone, and it doesn't fit on this camera. Now don't forget, now if I was going to use this telescope, I would definitely use a camera without an eyepiece, but because we're using eyepiece projection, the camera really does struggle. Ideally, prime focus projection directly from the camera without any lenses will work better, but because we're testing eyepieces are very different. All right, so as you saw there, we did capture an amazing shot of Pleiades. As you saw there, we've got the whole Pleiades in that field of view, all the major stars there. Really is a fantastic view. Now it's okay, this is real astronomy, all right, and I wanted to make it perfectly clear to you guys and girls and everyone that this is not staged. All right, I want you to show you exactly what I've just seen, and so far that eyepiece is truly amazing. I've never seen Pleiades as good as that from a budget eyepiece. I've got more expensive eyepieces, right, and don't get me wrong, they do deliver some amazing views, but that 23 times, that 52mm from Steve's eyepiece is just absolutely gobsmacked me. This would be an ideal eyepiece to do the Perseus double cluster as well. Again, that'd be an awesome objective view through that eyepiece. So at the moment, I'm going to look for something else. Also, we're going to test out the ST80 super tuned. We're going to test it out with the filter and see what we get. All right. Now we should not get any chromatic aberration because it is a short focus refractor. I'm only using 7 times magnification. So to be honest, if I use the filter or not, I'm not going to get as much chromatic aberration anyway. So I'm going to leave the filter on anyway, all right, because you're using very low magnification here, and this is only 7 times. So as you can see here, is if we take a closer look, we'll just dim the lights down, all right, and at the moment, because we've got an equatorial mount, we are tracking. Hopefully, I've got my pole alignment spot on. So we're gonna go down the settings. Alright, so the video will be very, very delayed, okay? Alright, and we're just gonna up the exposure, okay? It's gonna be very, very slow. Right, so with that, I'm gonna dim down, and hopefully we should get, right, just bear with me. Right, we have got Pleiades there. There we go, it's very small and very dim. But as I'm looking through that eyepiece there, Pleiades is minute. I reckon I've got a massive 4 degrees field of view there. It does not do any justice, but you're using 7 times magnification. And as you can see there, we've got Pleiades there in the field of view. And yeah, it's very wide field. Yeah, we've got a very wide field shot there. You can see the major stars there, the Seven Sisters. And yeah, that is actually an impressive view. That very small though, but this is a refractor, and this is the thing with refractors, is that you tend to get things with refractors. You tend to get a wider field of view with refractors. Now this is only 7 times magnification, and as you can see there, we have got Pleiades easily in this eyepiece, easily. So what I'm trying to prove to you guys and girls and everyone, that this eyepiece does work really well with refractors and reflectors, and obviously with the Microstage as well. So I thought I just had to confirm this, because end of the day, all right, you guys and girls and everyone, you need to know, like, if you want to build an eyepiece, it's okay building an eyepiece, but you've got to make sure that some eyepieces don't always work very well with certain telescopes. Now, as I'm looking through the eyepiece, all the stars, I can't see any chromatic aberration, so I'm not going to bother actually taking off that filter, because you're not going to see it as much, all right, using very low magnification. So really good telescope, really good view from this telescope. End of the day, it is a small aperture refractor, all right. It is good, it is very wide field, but I'm afraid the eyepiece works really well with this telescope, a Newtonian, or Dobsonian telescope. So if you've got a 6-inch or up to a 12-inch aperture telescope, I think this eyepiece will satisfy both those requirements through that telescope. That telescope is absolutely amazing. All right, so we've both confirmed. Also, we confirmed now that both telescopes, the refractor and the Dobsonian, they work really well with this eyepiece, and I'm absolutely amazed on the quality. So we're going to try something else, and hopefully we'll get to show you some more stuff. So we're going to use the Dobsonian again, because obviously the stars appear better through the ST80, and we've just located the double cluster from Perseus. This really is a wide field, fantastic object to test with this eyepiece. So we're going to check it out. Alright, and we're just going to adjust the camera settings, and we're just going to, and just bear with me guys and girls now, this is not easy. So what we're going to do is, and I think if I'll just get this right, yep, I think we're on there. Oh wow, you can't make out of it, but we've definitely got the double cluster there, both clusters there in the field of view. That is absolutely amazing. That is absolutely amazing. It's a huge target as well, but because the stars are very faint through this camera, they are bright through the eye. But yeah, I've definitely got the double cluster there in that eyepiece. That is really good. This eyepiece is absolutely amazing. So I've basically got the double cluster there in the field of view. Yeah, we definitely got that. Is absolutely amazing. Really is absolutely amazing. Now I'm using ISO 2500/600 maximum ISO setting, and the highest possible frame, well the slowest possible frame rate, to try and capture as much data so the video is not so great, but we definitely got double cluster there through that eyepiece. That is truly amazing. We could try with the ST80, see what we get from that. So we'll test out the double cluster from here. This is going to be a bit tricky, but hopefully we've been tracking that object for some time. And I'm just going to minimize that. I don't know if the camera will pick this up. Okay. It's getting bits of it, but it's not ideal. There's not enough aperture to pick that up, so it's a real shame. The cluster is there. It's a much wider field of view there, much wider, so the double cluster is really small through this telescope, but we've got a massive field of view, and obviously the camera can't pick that up in the highest setting. And I must admit, it is spectacular even with the ST80, but I think for the 10-inch model there for the Dob, it's absolutely amazing. We really did pick out some stunning detail there of the double cluster. Really pops with this telescope. The ST80, even though it's a sharper image, right, it's not as bright as the big monster here, but I can make out the cluster even though it's very small, but it is stunning through the refractor. Obviously bigger refractors, more large aperture, the more it will just be even more stunning image. But yeah, it's a real shame that the camera's not picked that up, but not to worry, you can definitely see it with this eyepiece. I couldn't see any curvature or any weird artifacts from that refractor. All the stars appear very pinpoint to the edge, which is really spectacular to say this was through the refractor. I'm not using no field flattener or anything like that, but I couldn't see any curvature anywhere in there. And in fact, for both telescopes, we've got corrected field of view from both telescopes. So then, we're going to look through Jupiter through this eyepiece. It will be very small. Alright, because it's low power, you're not going to see much detail, alright? So you may be able to see some banding, maybe some of the moons. So I'm going to up the exposure, alright? And this will be a challenge, right? Planets are always going to be a challenge through trying to take an image through the eyepiece. So just bear with me. Right, we've got an image there. Yeah, we definitely got an image there, but it's not picking up very well at all. So it's a real shame I can't get that very well. It's there. Maybe if I just lower the gain, maybe it might pick it out better. Yeah, it's just not picking up at all. I'm getting two moons there. Yeah, I'm definitely getting, even though it's got excellent eye relief, this is really hard. Right, so it's obviously not focusing because yeah, it's too much, it's not picking it out. It's a real shame, but as you can see, we did pick out one or two moons there. Obviously it's going to appear very small through the eyepiece because 52mm you're just going to see a disc and a few, either one or two or three or four moons. You may see some of the major banding on this telescope, but you really need to push the magnification. Ideally 100 times to about 180 times magnification is probably an ideal magnification to look at Jupiter. But the whole reason is we're testing this eyepiece, purely this eyepiece. We're not testing anything else, alright? But I can pick out some detail, alright? I could detect some banding, the major banding on the equatorial belts, right? You know, the two belts. I could pick that up easily with this eyepiece through the Dobsonian. Now, if we're going to use the ST80, you're just going to see just a disc, maybe, obviously you'll pick out 3 or 4 moons. That is it. All right. Again, you need a bit more magnification. You will pick out some detail, but you can only go so far with the limited aperture. Because it's 80mm, I would say I will go for 100 times with this telescope. This one, around 100, probably 200 times magnification at a push, but I never go anything beyond that. All right, 200 times at a push if seeing conditions permit. At the moment, I can't see the skies, or I can't see the skies. There's no shimmering, so the stars aren't twinkling as much. So we have got good seeing for the planets, but it's a real shame because again we're using a low eyepiece. So this is what I'm trying to say, that this eyepiece is more suited for deep sky viewing. So if you're looking at Andromeda or something like that, that would be a wonderful eyepiece at the moment. But obviously Andromeda Galaxy is just beyond, is a bit too low for me. All right, but like I say, not to worry. We've got some good results. I'm not going to show through this. It's a real, it'll be too small. All right, you'll probably won't. The camera won't even pick that up. If it struggles with this telescope, it will struggle with the ST80. But yes, got a good view there. Not a disappointed view at all. Just a very tiny view. So I'm trying again. This time, if I'm lucky, see if we can pick out Jupiter through this Dobsonian. Yeah, we've got it. There is some moons there. I'll just have a quick glance because it's probably moved again. Try again. Yeah. Alright, not to worry. We picked out some moons there, but it's just a bit difficult for me there. So then, got my Dobsonian mount set up first thing in the morning, and as you can see, I've just quickly set it up, got the eyepiece set up, and as you can see, you can see the true field of view 23 times through the Dob, and we've got the whole moon in there with the eyepiece. Absolutely amazing shot. Really is quite nice. You can see some craters in there, but it's not showing up. So what I'll do is I'll show you the recording through the camera on my Sony. Alright, so you can get to see closer. But yeah, as you can see there, because even though the Dobsonian is supposed to have narrow field of view, you can see I can easily fit the moon probably four times over, which is really impressive. Alright, with this magnification, you got a very wide field of view, but at least my temporary fix is working. So with this setup, I can get to test this out on deep sky objects and then record in real time, and also probably take a second shot, probably just to get some of those deep faint fuzzies. But as you can see there, we've got a nice sort of wide field there, without a doubt. So as you can see, through the eyepiece, using that Dobsonian mount, we've got the moon, nice crescent moon. You can see some craters there even with just low magnification, but what we're interested about is we've got the image focused and sharp, and you can just see a hint of craters there on around the side, but at least the my temporary effect worked. So we'll have to try and image some of these set up, but it's a lovely image there, and also I'm hand tracking by hand because obviously the moon moves quite a bit, and I'm using just a Dobsonian mount, and that mount does not track, so I just have to move the telescope tube to get into view. But as you can see there, what we're main concern is the eyepiece with its excellent eye relief. The camera doesn't do any justice, but if I was looking that through the eyepiece, I could see that with at least 2 inches away without no problems. But I can't see any chromatic aberration, but you shouldn't see that anyway with the Dobsonian. But as you can see, that eyepiece really performed really well, and even to the edge, if we move the telescope to the edge, it remains very sharp. Okay, so very sharp at the edges, and it just shows you that a budget eyepiece can deliver some amazing contrasty views, and it really is quite an impressive eyepiece. But obviously the moon's going down very quick, but I managed to get a nice good capture there of that moon. So then everyone, we've got the Microstage set up again, and we're going to test that eyepiece again. And as you see, we have got the moon, and obviously we've got a much closer view. I think we're around about 50 times, but don't quote me on that. But as you can see, we've got, yes, a narrow field of view, but what you can see from that is that as you see, that telescope always going to have a narrow field of view. But as we've proven to you guys and girls, that the eyepiece comfortably fits into the field of view there without no problems. Alright, so got a nice crisp view of the moon, and from the look through the eyepiece, it looks like I could actually fit another moon in there. So it could fit 2 moon diameters, which is really impressive for a Microstage, because Microstages have a narrow field of view. They're all suited for lunar and planetary viewing, but that eyepiece has definitely delivered the goods. A nice sharp image there, and very impressive from this eyepiece. Absolutely well pleased with this. As you can see, through the Microstage 127, we've got the moon, and the eyepiece comfortably fits in there with no hassles. So you can see it now, live video, and I must admit, the digiscope bracket is not perfect. I can't get it, adjusted very well, but because of that long eye relief, I can get the image of that moon, not a problem there. So you can see with this eyepiece, you can see it can clearly fit 2 degrees. You can put 2 moon diameters in there without not a problem with this scope. Very sharp, very contrasty, and it's a lovely shot there. I don't know what magnification that is, but that's very impressive, that, to see the results through the Mac. Now we're testing out the refractor, the ST80, and the eyepiece, as you can see there, focus, as you can see there, we've got the moon very sharp, and the field of view is absolutely amazing. Like I say, I just can't believe how many moon diameters that is, but if you could check it out, link at the below, put your comments what you think that is. I'm guessing that's like 4 moon diameters it can fit in there, but it's probably actually more, which is really quite amazing. Yes, it's only a very small magnification at 7 times, but as you can see there, we've got a nice stunning image of the moon. We won't be able to see any hint of false colouring because
it's blue sky, so it won't even show you that. But it's very impressive to see that eyepiece performing, fitting the entire moon through the refractor. And like I say, we've tested all 3 telescopes and the eyepiece works perfectly. Very contrast, really is an amazing eyepiece. But as you can see there, I don't know what diameters that can fit, but looking at that could fit probably about 5 or 6. But again, put your comments down what you think that is. But I have no idea what degrees of field of view that is actual without using the calculator. But yeah, very impressive results through the refractor with this eyepiece. So as you can see, using the ST18 refractor, you can clearly see the moon phase, 7 times magnification. Looking through the eyepiece, and you can see that yes, it's a small image, but that field of view is truly amazing. So I have no idea what that field of view can be, but looking at that, you could fit at least 6 or 7 moon diameters in there, which I'm probably over exaggerating it, but this is a very impressive eyepiece without a doubt. Well, everyone, this is it. This is a good opportunity. The sky is finally cleared. I mean, New Year, it's New Year's Day, and thank God it's cleared. The weather's been absolutely rubbish over the UK, and obviously with snow, rain, wind, you name it, and we've managed to get a bit of a clearing tonight, which is good to see. As you can see, we've got the legendary Horizon 102 ED refractor with its auto guider from the next guide. All right, standalone system. Love that system. All right, reasons for this because obviously skies are not being great. This is a quick setup. Basically, get a pole aligned, start the alignment on the mount. Once you've got it sorted out and you're taking pictures of DSLR, exposure and all that, you then run the auto guider through next guide and then off your way, and you just forget about it. Just take great awesome pictures with that. However, we've got our 10-inch dob we're going to use purpose for this video, this part of this imaging session. The reasons why I'm picking the Dobsonian, we've tested out that eyepiece on a variety of equipment, okay, and as we see, the eyepiece, don't get me wrong, it works really well with Microstage and refractors. However, it works exceptionally well with a Newtonian or Dobsonian telescope. Particularly this model, it really just makes images just pop through that eyepiece. So as you can see, I've got the telescope already collimated, all right, and that's all ready to go. So basically just let the mirror cool down, all right, and just let it, once we're cleared up, as you can see, skies are looking really good at the moment. And what we are doing is, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I was going to test out the eyepiece against a more expensive eyepiece. So as we can see here, we've got several setups here. We're using the Sony 6400 series camera. All right, fantastic. We've adopted a lens system. Now this is just a mica cheap lens. This is very capable of f/1.8 ratio. Yes, it's a wide field lens. I think it's 35mm, I'm not quite sure, but it's a cheap lens, and however it works exceptionally well with these eyepiece setups. So I'm using the same exposures, so both exposures are going to be the same for both eyepieces. As you can see, this eyepiece is quite a large eyepiece, so I've had to use a Baader stage 3, or it's a stage Microstage 2 digiscoping adapter. You can buy these from a lot of good Astro shops. This one can fit over 63mm diameter eyepiece barrels. I only just managed to squeeze that in with the 64mm diameter barrel eyepiece.
So we've got Steve Case's eyepiece finally installed, okay, and as you can see here, we've got the Explorer Scientific. All right, as you take a closer look on the Explorer Scientific, all right, really good eyepiece, 100-degree field of view. So we've made a makeshift bracket for that. I've used 70mm scope rings, okay, to fit over this eyepiece. Now, also I've had to use some gummy tape to try and take up some of the free gaps in there. So basically I've just got a scope ring there, gummy tape round the eyepiece, clamped it that way, and as you can see, I'm using a dovetail system, all right, with a 1/4 bolt, all right, and also I've got spacers here. These are counterweights from to balance out a SCAT or SCT telescope. But these counterweights, all right, they are just perfectly the correct sort of gap, so that lens system here fits perfectly onto that eyepiece. So we want to test it out as a fair system. So we're going to mark, also these eyepieces are going to compete with each other to see how they perform. All right. Yes, this is a professional eyepiece. All right. But we want to see how well or how good this budget eyepiece really performs. I'm very, very interested because so far that is very promising. Yes, you're going to get different modifications. This is 14mm and this is 52mm. So I'm going to get 23 times here and I'll get 85 times here. But what we are testing out here is to show to everyone that budget eyepieces are very capable if they're well made. And you can save yourself a ton of money. What we're also trying to say, also demonstrate is, you know, yes, we're going to get, this is going to perform better than the eyepiece, but we don't know. All right, but the thing is, this is meant to be a 100-field-degree eyepiece. I'm going to get more magnification with this eyepiece. Yes, I'm going to get more contrast and more sharper views than the eyepiece. But what we're going to compare is that eyepiece there costs £20 to make at the most. This is a £400 eyepiece. So what we are trying to prove to you all is that you don't have to buy expensive eyepieces, but we'll get to test out where it really performs using the same exposure times, all right, as we test both of these eyepieces. Again, I have not seen any videos or any on YouTube or any Astro channels that demonstrates it properly. Here, what I've done, I've just saved up the time, ordered the bits, what I needed, and we're going to test this out and prove to you all that how capable this eyepiece is and show you with some proof, all right? And that's what you deserve, guys and girls and everyone. You want the good, honest proof. So, like always, we'll no longer be holding the camera by my hand. All right, it wasn't really ideal, but now we've got the proper digiscoping brackets, all right, that I've made and also bought from Baader. All right, if you've not seen this Baader eyepiece, this Baader Digiscope Microstage 2, please check it out in the description below. Highly recommended. All right, this fits good size 2-inch eyepieces. Unfortunately, this Baader does not fit the Explorer Scientific. It's too wide, it's too big. So I've had to use the scope rings on there. So as you can see, if you want to check out that product, please check it in the description below. Highly recommended if you've got some 63 or 64mm 2-inch barrels or less. All right, this is the bracket for you for digiscoping. So the reason why we're doing digiscoping is to show it to you all through the eyepiece. Yes, ideally, if I was going to do imaging with this telescope, ideally I will use prime focus. But we're not going to do that because all we are doing, we're not testing the eyepiece, how capable it is. So yes, we are going to lose a bit of light. However, we are going to compensate more with the more high sensitive camera here. This camera can go to ISO 102,000 ISO settings, all right, on this camera. It's a very sensitive, light sensitive camera. And if I just do 1 second exposure, we should get some really good detail. So wish me luck, everyone, all right? And we'll see how we get, all right? So as we are testing it out, we can also be taking great pictures as well with this Horizon 102. Again, if you've not seen that video, please check it out from the top. I did do a product review on that, which is not sponsored, okay? Again, I don't do sponsored videos. I pay for my own equipment, and again, please check that video out. really good, damn good telescope for the money. All right, and they are available from River Valley Optics, so please check them out. Okay, really good telescope there. So as you can see, sky's looking very promising. We're just gonna wait till it gets dark, and then we'll start testing out these eyepieces. Can this budget eyepiece compete against a more expensive eyepiece? We will see. Well done, everyone. What an eventful night we just had. We just had the aurora activity in my location. I had a quite high intensity storm, an aurora storm in the northern part. I managed to get awesome pictures using my DSLR setup, and also I'm doing time-lapse videos. So as you can see there, I'm taking pictures of the aurora, but I think it's going down, but you can just see. I mean, what an eventful night, considering I'm trying to make a video and then the aurora just tipped up out of nowhere. So as you can see there, the aurora's still there. Okay, so we've got some great pictures of that. So I don't know what the time lapse is going to be on this camera, but I've taken the aurora. Yeah, there's still an aurora there, but I was taking ISO 1600, 7 seconds, and just did a quick capture, just set up the camera and just gather as much detail. So as you can see, I've got quite a lot of things going on at the moment, and as you can see, I've got my Horizon 102 taking pictures of the Cone Nebula, but I think it's a bit too low in the sky at the moment, but I'm imaging, I'm guiding, and it's handling it really, really well. So at the moment, I'm guiding as normal. I'm just taking some awesome shots. Hopefully I don't know how they'll tip out, but they'll do, you know, like I say, I'm just going to keep taking those light photons. Now as you can see here, we've got my 250p, okay, Dobsonian already set up. We've already got Steve Case's eyepiece already connected up, and as you can see, if we just dim down, we've got a lovely image, live image of the Pleiades. So as you can see, that bracket's a lot better now. So we've got the live image of Pleiades at ISO 2500/600 and 1/4 of exposure, and I've got a live image of that nebula, obviously that cluster, I mean. So as you can see there, we're in live time and we've got a nice detail there. All right, really is impressive. And as you can see, we just had one of those Starlink satellites just go past, but we've got a live view using Steve Case's eyepiece, and we've got the whole cluster in there. Much better now. I'm not balancing it, holding the camera up to the eyepiece. That Baader bracket at the moment, digiscope and bracket, is absolutely amazing. And as you can see, we've got the entire cluster there. Alright, all its glory. And yeah, it's much better now. Digiscope in bracket has made it a little bit easier. So we've got all the major stars there. And this is a live view, right? This is a live view. I should actually rotate the camera around so you can get the whole sort of nebula in there, the whole cluster in there. So what I'll do is I'll try and rotate it round. Right, I might have to Okay, so I've rotated the camera. I'm just going to, like you see, look at that live view, absolutely impressive, and I can't grumble at that. Steve, this is an amazing eyepiece, really is. I've got it in live view with 1/4 of a second, ISO 256,000, and 25,600 ISO setting. And as you can see, we've got all the clustering there in its form of glory. Really is outstanding. I'm just taking still shots. So as you can see, we've got the M45. I'm just going to take that shot. Alright. So just look, bear with me. So as you can see, that's the still shot I took. I'm just going to, right, so there we go. I'm going to start the shot. As you can see, I'm just going to take the shot again. Just bear with me, because my hand's a bit full. So, right, just taking the shot. And like you say, we're just taking that shot there. And as you can see, take a closer look. You're joking. I'm not being funny, like, guys and everyone. We've actually got a hint of nebulosity here. Now, obviously my camera's not picking that up very well, but as you can see, we've definitely got nebulosity there, and it does look really impressive. That's only just over a second, 1.3 of a second, ISO 64,000, and we already picked out nebulosity in the structure there. Yes, there are some star tracking, obviously errors, because we're not guiding, so you're going to get some star trailing anyway, but that's really impressive to see that. And as you can see, I am absolutely over the moon for this eyepiece. Really is, really, you can see where this actual circle is as well. You've got a wide field of view, and we've got the whole cluster in there without no dramas, and we've picked out nebulosity as well. That is really impressive, guys and girls and everyone, really is. So then everyone, as you can see, using Steve Case's awesome eyepiece, we just got the capture of the Andromeda, in fact no, we got the Orion Nebula here. And as you can see, it's a live image, and it's absolutely amazing. Really is. I mean, look at that. Yes, it's a bit grainy, but we've got the Orion Nebula there, and it looks really impressive. I can clearly define obviously the trapeze stars in the middle, and M43, the small tiny nebula as well. So live view, 1/4 ISO 32,000, and we're picking out that detail. I'm going to take a still shot as well, so that you know how this will look. So I'm just going to push the image a bit so you can see, and I'm just going to take this shot. As you can see, through the live shot, we've got the Orion Nebula, and you can see we've got a hint of colour through Steve's eyepiece, and like I say, we've got all the detail there. That is absolutely amazing, guys and girls and everyone. Let me just obviously just adjust the focus. Right, we're properly focused now, and as you can see, now we're properly focused. I will lock that. That is absolutely amazing. So we've got now a nice focused image, and I'm going to take a still shot from there. So this is at ISO 32,000 maximum ISO setting, and you can see it's very grainy, so I might need to lower the gain. So when I lower the, also I'll lower the ISO, I'll put it down to, right, I'll put it down to 20,000. So it's at 20,000 and we've still got a, it's a bit noisy, but we can see the dark regions there, the trapeze stars there, M43, really is nice through that ice, through that Dobsonian. And that eyepiece through Steve, it's got a wide field of view, and this is a live video. Alright, obviously the mobile phone was not picking that up very well, but obviously it's just one of those things. See, I'm using my main camera. This is the camera that I always use to make my videos, so it's a real shame that I can't just have another Sony to like show you this as well. But as you can see, we're nicely focused. I've got a nice stunning image there, so I'm going to take a nice good shot there of the Orion Nebula using Steve Case's eyepiece, and it really is absolutely amazing, really is. Nice detail there, really impressive results. So as you can see, got Orion using Steve Case's eyepiece. I'm just going to take the shot so you can see. Right, so we're going to take a shot. Right, so it's taking the shot. Let's check the image. Wow. Wow, that is amazing. Now, obviously, my camera's not doing any justice there, but I've definitely got the Orion there with the colours and all that, with just a very short exposure. That's really impressive. So then, as you can see, using Steve Case's eyepiece again, we've got Pleiades there. Alright, really good image there. I'm going to take a still shot in there with our image a lot less a lot bit, which is much better now. It's much more focused. Just bear with me, this is very hard. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to use both hands to try and get this right. We've got Pleiades in there, so we've taken the shot, but I really want to. Come on, stop letting me down. Go on, I'm just trying to. Right, take the shot. So now we take the shot. I'm just gonna. And there we go. Wow, we've got some nebulosity there. The image is a lot more focused now. I can't see any hint of. There's a little bit of coma, but that's pretty much normal on this type of telescope. But we've got the field of view, all the stars to the edge, very nice and crisp, and we're even picking out some detail, the nebulosity in that star cluster. And that is really impressive, guys and girls and everyone. That's really impressive. So I'm really happy with this eyepiece. So now what we're going to do, because we get to a point, we're going to swap the eyepiece out and compare it with the more expensive Explorer Scientific eyepiece. Bear in mind that this is low power. Using the Explorer Scientific eyepiece, we're going to get a much more magnified image at 85 times. The 100 degree field of view might cause some problems because we're using a 14mm eyepiece and using 85 times. So it is a bit unfair on the expensive telescope, on the expensive eyepiece. But the thing is, this eyepiece we were using from Steve is more suited for wide field. And as you can see, it clearly shows imaging Orion and Pleiades. We can get the entire features in there with the eyepiece with a massive field of view. It really is very impressive eyepiece, to say the least. And I could not detect any chromatic aberration. You shouldn't really get any through this telescope. But looking at that image there, that's really impressive. That's only just 1.3 of a second. All right, 1 second, just over a second there. And using ISO 20,000, which is not high. I could actually pump that up a bit more to get me a much better refined image. So I will do that as well. But I could actually put this ISO up to 40,000. Maybe that would be much better. But as you can see there, we've got some fantastic detail there, without a doubt. So we'll swap the eyepiece around for the Explorer Scientific. Yes, we're going to get a more magnified image. We may get a reduced field of view. But the thing is, we're going to compare the results. All right, and that's what you need to see. That's what you need to see, is see the exact results. Right, and already I've proven to you guys and girls and everyone that this eyepiece, this budget eyepiece, really does kick some butt. It really is absolutely amazing piece of equipment, and it's only made with budget binocular lenses, and that is a big statement. I mean, I love this eyepiece. Looking at Orion Nebula, looking at the Pleiades. Much better now while I've got the Microstage Baader bracket. It makes digiscoping a lot easier. So we're going to swap it out and put in this Explorer Scientific eyepiece. So then, everyone, we just changed the eyepiece to the Explorer Scientific 14mm eyepiece. Now the view is very dim, and as you can see, we're on live view and we don't seem to get the nebulosity that you get with the with Steve's eyepiece. So as you can see, using more magnification dims the actual view of your target. So I'm going to record that. And as you can see, because we recorded it now, we should get something. No, it's very dim. So as you can see, using more magnification is not always a good thing. But we have got the nebula there, but it's just not showing up at all. Not actually showing up at all in there, which is a real shame. So yeah, it's just not showing up at all in there. So we have got it, but it just shows you that even though it's a more expensive eyepiece, it just shows you that magnification is not important. Okay, so we'll do a live view. I will take a shot for that. But already my field of view is a lot narrower, and you can clearly see that there's more magnification. Don't get wrong, the eyepiece, all the stars are very sharp to the crisp, so they are pretty sharp. It's just a real shame that we're not picking up the nice nebulosity that we're getting through Steve's eyepiece. So it just shows you. It really does just show you. So yeah, so we'll take a closer look through the camera, right, so you can see, and yeah, so as you can see, already 14mm, 85 times magnification. Stars are very sharp on this eyepiece, but we're not getting any hint of nebulosity, and we've had the camera on the exact same settings, and I've even pushed our ISO 51. Maybe if I just maybe I could just, for video, and again, no, I'm not picking up any nebulosity there. So yeah, so what I'll do is we'll show you on the camera so you can see, but yeah, this is very interesting. And as you can see here, through the camera itself, on a live view, we could just pick out some of the major stars there through the Explorer Scientific, and again we're not seeing any hint of nebulosity. The field of view is much narrower, and it's not a very good target, and it just shows you that certain eyepieces are just not suited for certain targets, and this is a clear example why using high magnification is not always a good idea. So as you can see there, we have got Pleiades. We're only picking out some of the major stars, nothing spectacular there at all. Personally, Steve Case's eyepiece resolves that much better with hint of nebulosity, and it just shows you there, you know, more expensive eyepieces are not always good for certain telescopes. And again, this magnification is too much. I would never use this kind of magnification on a target like this, but it's just to show you guys and girls and everyone that every eyepiece is different, and some eyepieces work really well on certain targets. This one, to be honest with you, is just not suited to be honest with you for this target. It really is quite disappointing. So I would never use this eyepiece. I use this eyepiece on like smaller galaxies or smaller nebula or star clusters. This is just not good. Probably this would be good for a Goblet cluster, but again, it just shows you, don't get me wrong, the images are very contrasty, the stars are very sharp and pinpointy, and you can see, yes, there's a hint of coma, but not that much. So yeah, that clearly defies my results now. I'll definitely resort back to Steve Case's eyepiece if I want to enjoy the maximum view this open cluster deserves. So we swapped the eyepiece for the Explorer Scientific, and as you can see, we've got the Orion Nebula, and it's very dim. And as you can see there, we've got the dark lanes. All the stars are very sharp through this eyepiece, but again, as you notice, because we're using 85 times, we've dropped down in the brightness. We can't see much of the hint of colour that we had through the Steve Case's eyepiece. And as you can see, this is a live view. All we can see is the dark lanes, and because we're using more magnification, you can see the stars start to drift out very, very rapidly. So we've got, you can see the center core, the trapezium very well. Don't get wrong, the stars are very sharp for this eyepiece, but as you see, using more magnification dims the view dramatically, which is very interesting. It proves a point. I'm using the same settings as the with Steve's Case's eyepiece, and yes, we do get a much bigger image there, but as you can see, even though we're using more magnification, you can clearly define that we are not getting as much detail compared to Steve's eyepiece. So it just proves the point that more magnification is not always a good thing. So yeah, obviously it's not doing it justice, but as you can see, that is the eyepiece I'm using. That is the Explorer Scientific, and as you can see, what a massive difference. So it shows you, yes, the 100-degree field of view does give you the good corrected stars around the field, but using that extra magnification, that deep sky object, the Orion Nebula, is very faint through this eyepiece. Obviously, when you're looking through the eyepiece with this type, this is more suited for obviously visual, but again, I am using the camera, but it just shows that Steve Case eyepiece is absolutely outstanding. So it just shows that even though this is a more expensive eyepiece, doesn't mean to say that eyepiece is just suited to certain telescopes. Yes, you're getting more magnification. Yes, you're getting much sharper field of view with this eyepiece, but it just shows you £400 eyepiece, and the views are very different. What do you think, guys and girls and everyone? Again, put your comments below and see what you think. And as you can see, directly from the camera itself, at 1/4 speed of exposure, live view, and as you can see through the Explorer Scientific eyepiece, ISO 32,000. Yes, we've got a noisy image there, but as you can see, yes, all the stars are very sharp. the field of view is much narrower, even though it's supposed to be 100-degree field of view. However, we have got a nice image there of the obviously dark lanes in there, much closer shot. But again, we're not getting the vivid colours that we were getting through Steve's eyepiece, which is very interesting. And again, you see the stars drift out much quicker because we're using more magnification. So this is run at 85 times, and it just shows that having more magnification is not always a good thing. So yeah, you can see the detail there. Again, slight movements, you know, you can lose the target pretty quick. It's not like with Steve's eyepiece where you got a huge field of view and you can just, you know, you can find your target very easily. But this one, using Explorer Scientific, it's very tricky. So yes, we have got a good view. The eyepiece is pretty good, but yeah, it just shows you that that is a massive difference already. So yes, same settings but narrow field of view, and the object is much darker, much dimmer. So very interesting results there. So as you can see, we've just got Orion again. I'm just trying to maneuver with this eyepiece Explorer Scientific. It's really hard. So we're just going to take a still shot. Right. So we're taking a shot and see what we get. So there we go. Yes, we do got a lot of contrast here. See the dark lanes. You see all the detail in the middle. Yes, the Explorer Scientific does give you more magnification. You do get to see a lot more detail through there, but it's not a wide field. It's a very narrow field of view. And as you can see, we can't fit the entire Orion Nebula in there. It's really small. Right? It's really small field of view on that eyepiece. So yes, we do get a lot of detail there, but as you can see there, yes, contrast images. There are a bit of star trailing because using a slow eyepiece will give you more tracking errors. And you can see there, it is a good image. It's not a bad image, but trying to maneuver that object in there is very tricky. Again, we're using the same settings as Steve Case's eyepiece. And as you see, using that eyepiece, it's very hard to try and get this into view and take the shot. It really is quite tricky. So yes, you do get more magnification. You do get a bit more detail hidden in there, but it's not a bright image. And I can't really tell with the stars because looking at those stars there, there are tracking errors. So the more magnification used, it shows it up really well. So yes, more expensive eyepiece does help your views a little bit, does make it a bit more contrast, but all I can tell there is just makes your images much more dimmer. And yeah, I do actually prefer Steve Case's eyepiece here because Steve Case's eyepiece is very easy to handle. It really is. And yes, the image here is very dim. So, and the target is too large in that field of view. So, not a great eyepiece, to be honest with you, for big deep sky objects like that, but for galaxies, particularly like the larger galaxies, we're probably all right. Andromeda Galaxy might be a bit too much for this eyepiece because it's more of an eyepiece for visual, not photography. But again, the field of view is a lot smaller, and you can tell straight away Steve Case's eyepiece is absolutely awesome in the field of view. So it just shows you that 100-degree field of view is not exactly what you'll get. It all depends on the telescope you're using, and this will give you the exact field of view. Again, looking at that eyepiece, I think we're less than a degree here. It's as you can see there, I'm not fitting the entire target in there unless I flip the camera around to get the sensor in place. But overall, it is a good image. The eyepiece does deliver some amazing detail and more contrast, but the narrow field of view, and don't forget, this is a £400 eyepiece, And this is what I'm trying to say to you guys and girls and everyone. Expensive eyepieces will show you nothing more. Maybe give you a little more contrast, a little more detail, but it just depends on the telescope you use and also the magnification you use. And again, 14mm is quite a lot of magnification for this target. Personally, I like to enjoy this nebula between 20 to about 50 times. It really looks awesome when you're using that kind of magnification. So yeah, very interesting results indeed. So at the moment we are viewing Mars. So obviously I'm using too much exposure. Now this is through the Explorer Scientific eyepiece, and I need to dim down the ISO because it's a bit too bright. So Mars will be very, very small, but you can tell with the diffraction spikes I'm very well collimated. So it's not nothing to do with collimation, but you can see Mars is very, very small, and this is 85 times. I need to do a lot of magnification, but even with 85 times I would really need to push it up. But yeah, you're not going to get as much detail even through a 10-inch scope. Alright, I mean, if I just dim down, if I just speed up the exposure, again, you're just not going to get the wow factor. Yeah, there it is. And because, yeah, oh, I've lost it again. As you can see, it's not easy. I just have to target back in there. Oh, I lost it again. I'm just using the tar rad because I know it's a bright target. So there you go. There is Mars through the Explorer Scientific eyepiece. Again, it's a very featureless disc. You need a lot more magnification, probably 200 times magnification to just get some hint of detail, and that's all you're going to see. So you'll need a Baader lens or something like that to really pump up the exposure. But as you can see there, it's very tiny. 85 times it's just not enough for this kind of work. So with planets you need to pump up the magnification a lot. So around 200 times, maybe probably 180, 200 times, you might be able to get some detail there. But again, the target drifts down very, very quickly. But don't get me wrong, the Explorer Scientific eyepiece is a very good eyepiece. I would need to use probably a 9mm eyepiece or a 5.5mm eyepiece to get that disc even more prominent. You will get some hint of detail, but again, looking at that, that's all you're going to see through a 10-inch scope. So with that 10-inch scope, I would definitely pump up the magnification, and depends on your seeing conditions. There's slight turbulence, so it just really just depends. And Mars is pretty low as well, so again, get planets as high as you can, possibly can. But yes, it's a very tricky target, and again, you can lose the target very easy. So yeah, and as you can see, we've got the conjunction of Venus and the Moon. Really is a fantastic view through Steve Case's eyepiece, and I must admit I've managed to get the Moon and Venus in the same field of view, which is very impressive. Obviously I'm tracking at the moment, but I'm just trying to get this sort of this is the limit, of course, because I'm literally just trying to struggle getting both targets in this eyepiece. But it just shows you, clearly shows you, that this is a very impressive eyepiece to get both targets in there, and this is without a doubt quite amazing. As you can see,
if I up the gain, the exposure, very high contrast image, no false colouring, even through the ST80. It really is an impressive eyepiece there, and we've got detail of the moon, and that is incredible. I don't know exactly how far apart that is, but that's probably around about 2, maybe 3 degrees away from that subject. But as you can see there, it's really impressive stuff to get the conjunction of obviously the moon and Venus in there. It really is quite an impressive shot, but very well contrast image, very bright image, and I absolutely love this eyepiece. It really is quite amazing. So to see the conjunction this far apart is very impressive indeed. Top work, man. Top work, Steve. Absolutely top work.
Well, guys and girls and everyone, what do you reckon? Absolutely unbelievable. I just cannot believe how good that Steve Case's eyepiece. Top work from Steve. Thank you very much for making this eyepiece. It was such a joy to use. I was absolutely amazed on the image quality. Outstanding eyepiece for what it is. Now, before I start talking more about the eyepiece, I will say that the Explorer Scientific eyepiece, I feel a little bit sorry for this particular eyepiece because yes, it's a very expensive eyepiece for the money, but you are paying for premium optics here. High quality optics, really good coatings, you know. There are a lot more to this eyepiece, hence the reason you pay the price. Yes, it's £400, it's an expensive eyepiece. However, even though it doesn't have much, well, the eye relief isn't that great on this, because you literally got to get your eyeball into the eyepiece for starters. The other thing is it's a very heavy eyepiece. It weighs over 1 kilogram. which is quite heavy and robust. However, build quality is absolutely amazing on this eyepiece. Highly recommend to buy an eyepiece like this. The 14mm is probably the most expensive eyepieces I've got out of my entire collection. But it does, even though despite the 100 field degree view, yes, I did get a lot of reduction, but think about it. I am using 85 times on this telescope, which is a lot of power. So your field of view is going to be a lot less with this eyepiece. So going off by the quotation of 100 degree field of view, there are certain things you need to calculate. Please use this calculator to assess your eyepieces. So if there's a certain eyepiece that you really like this one for example, use the calculator to give you the true field of view on a given telescope. So that's how you get the true field of view. However, this is such an unbelievable eyepiece. The contrast and the sharpness is way superior than the budget. Alright, without a doubt. However, the price tag is unbelievably expensive for what it is. But that's the sort of situation we've got here. Is if you want to invest on good eyepieces, you don't need to spend a ton of money on an eyepiece like that. These are a bit of a niche accessory. So if you're a keen observer and you do a lot of deep sky imaging or you do a lot of deep sky observing, then this is an eyepiece to have, because it's such a, you've got the higher power but you've got the in-between, so you have got zoom into smaller deep sky objects as well as the bigger ones. It's not going to sacrifice so much on the light grasp of your telescope. So this is, even though it's a heavy eyepiece and very expensive, the image quality is superior. Yes, the camera doesn't do any justice. You do have a reduction in field of view, and because I'm using high powers and high magnifications, then yes, it's sort of a bit unfair. But the thing is, I'm using a lot more magnification, so it's a different type of eyepiece altogether. So even though I couldn't digiscope very well on this eyepiece, I wasn't getting the true potential. It is an amazing eyepiece, and don't get me wrong, I would highly recommend buying an Explorer Scientific. They really are damn good eyepieces for the money. However, the price tag is expensive for most people, and that's why I suggest to get the plus eyepieces or cheaper eyepieces within your budget. However, we move on to this Steve Case's eyepiece. Now, as you saw there, I wanted to show to you guys and girls and everyone the true evidence. And as you see from the last observing sessions with this eyepiece, connecting the camera directly onto this eyepiece, this eye relief is unbelievable. Obviously, the camera can't show you how much eye relief it is, but if you ever make one of these eyepieces, highly recommend you do, because you're not going to get an eyepiece for £20 or less for this kind of capabilities. This eyepiece really is a game changer, and I just can't believe that eye relief is that good. That I can look through the eyepiece, and it's from here I can actually see full field of view through that eyepiece, and it's absolutely like a spacewalk. So even though it's 50 degree field of view, I think it is, according to my calculations using the eyepiece calculator, I think it's 50 degree field of view. But wow, it doesn't look like it's 50 degrees. Yes, I'm using less magnification, but the thing is, with a lot of deep sky objects, particularly like you've got the double cluster, you've got Pleiades, Orion Nebula. So unfortunately I couldn't get the Andromeda galaxy, but not to worry. But what we're seeing here, this is an eyepiece that gives you the spacewalk effect. It really is like, wow. You connect that onto a refractor, you've got a huge field of view. In fact, I'm actually amazed that this eyepiece actually gave me that much field of view, even on a Maxitov 127, the Dobsonian I've got here. You saw it, and with those, obviously you've seen through the camera, it really is outstanding eyepiece. The light grasp, because you're using a lot less magnification, you're getting better light grasp. It's a real shame that you can't attach a filter, a light pollution filter, but that's maybe something that Steve could do, is put an internal thread inside here, inside this barrel, so you can connect 2-inch filters, and maybe a rubber eye cup, because sometimes, because it's got that much good eye relief, if there's any stray light, it could cross the path whilst you're looking. So a bigger rubber eye cup might be a great addition to try and, so that maximises your able to see through the eyepiece really well. But I could not detect any false colouring. The contrast and the sharpness is very, very good. Yes, it's not going to be as good contrast and sharpness with this eyepiece, but this comes pretty close, and I'm not over exaggerating this. This is an amazing eyepiece. You cannot get an eyepiece within the budget, and believe me, you could spend hundreds and thousands of pounds on eyepieces. But if there's one addition, is please check out Red Henry's channel. Again, description below for his channel. He is a true astronomer. He is totally dedicated to the hobby, and all he ever wants to do is help people in the process in getting people involved into astronomy, because there is a short decline, and I don't know what it is. Yes, astronomy is great for astrophotography, but sometimes you cannot be visual astronomy, because in the day, when you first start out, we all started out with an eyepiece, looking through a telescope and looking up. That's where it starts. And there may be a few people might disagree with me here, but I've been into astronomy for over 30 odd years, and I know that I started off with a pair of binoculars, and again you're looking through the eyepieces. That's where it starts. And to be honest with you, visual astronomy is, you've got to learn the skies, you've got to use star maps, you've got to navigate your way, what you're looking at, and you learn better through that process. I'm afraid that's the way it is. Astronomy is a hobby that we should be learning. And an eyepiece like this, yes, if you're on a limited budget, highly recommend to make one yourself, because this is a game changer of an eyepiece. And I don't care what people say, you got to buy Teleview, you got to buy Explorer Scientific. You know, it's not all about money. Alright, because end of the day, astronomy is at all levels, okay? Don't you forget that. And end of the day, I have loads of equipment, and don't get me wrong, I spent a load of money, but I've saved for my money, and that's what counts. I've worked so hard over the years to build up my collection, and that's why I haven't given up on the hobby, you know, because I haven't used a telescope for months, and I get rid of it. Why do that? Keep the telescope. A telescope is for life. Because at the end of the day, a telescope, as long as it's looked after, it will last for many, many years. And keep your equipment until those days when it clears and you've got good sky conditions. That's when you can use those telescopes. Yes, you might have spent a ton of cash on a telescope that you hardly use, but keep those telescopes. Bear in mind, when that night clears, it will be unforgettable, alright? So please don't quit just because you don't use something, alright? And that's one thing you need to consider, everyone. So building an eyepiece like this, highly recommend that you build one of these eyepieces yourself. And I was a bit dubious at first, and I'll be honest with you guys and girls, I was dubious at first, but now, considering I've got my experiences, first-hand experiences with this eyepiece, and there's loads of astro channels that also have done loads of reviews based on these eyepieces, so please check those channels out. But particularly check out Red Henry's channel, because he has built these eyepieces and he shared those ideas out. And personally, he's not making money out of these. He's donating these eyepieces to help people get into astronomy, right? And what a wonderful man he is to do that. There's not many people out there in the astro community that will do that, alright? Because at the end of the day, people like him are a rare breed, alright? You're not going to get people like him that's just passionate about the hobby. And that's what I'm trying to say to you everyone, is being passionate towards the hobby, right? Towards astronomy, sharing the ideas out. Who cares what other people say, you know, like you've got to spend mega bucks on this. It's not always the case. And this eyepiece, this is the game changer. And wow, contrast, field of view. Alright, not as much magnification, but this eyepiece is more designed for obviously larger deep sky objects. Not a great eyepiece for planets, but the moon is okay. It just depends on the telescope you're going to use. And I never experienced the Perseus double cluster in this eyepiece like that before. That was magnificent. I've had all the eyepieces that I bought to try and get the Perseus double cluster. This one beats all the collection I've got, all the eyepieces. There's not one eyepiece that can get a whole cluster, but this one did. And that is a big statement, everyone. Alright, absolutely magnificent eyepiece. Okay, Steve, there are a few things I picked up on, like you did rush in building this eyepiece. Just got a bit too much on the epoxy to glue the lenses together. So you've got a little bit of epoxy glue sort of in the field of view. So you just got to be careful, Steve, with this eyepiece. But my God, Steve, I thank you for sharing this eyepiece out, Steve. I am absolutely amazed on the performance, and wow, it is absolutely unbelievable sheer quality there. So thank you again, Steve. I will reward this, and I'm not kidding you, everyone, 5 stars, purely because alright, the contrast is not as great compared to the Explorer Scientific, but the eye relief, the views are absolutely magnificent. For something that's out of binocular lenses, it's absolutely outstanding. 5 stars. I reward this eyepiece. 5 stars. Please, everyone, check out Red Henry's channel. Truly amazing bloke with amazing talent for figuring out this double Plosso eyepiece. Absolutely wonderful guy to share this idea out, and it's a big thanks to you, Red Henry, for sharing this idea. I am absolutely stunned, alright, on the sheer performance. So please, would I recommend building this eyepiece? Yes, I would. If you're on limited budget and you haven't got much cash, build one of these yourself and go for it and see what you think. If you like watching this video, please hit a thumbs up or like on this video. Highly recommend that you do that to push the algorithm. Also, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe onto my channel. So please share this video out, share it to the Astro community, and this will help many others, alright, believe me. And don't forget to hit the bell, scroll up, select all, and you will not miss out any videos that I publish out very, very soon. So thanks again, thanks for watching, and I wish you all clear skies.